The Samsung Odyssey G7 gaming monitor is a pretty unique entry into the gaming market. Now sure, Samsung have had monitors in the past, and yes, their monitors have been focused somewhat at gaming, but with the Odyssey G7, gaming is just part of its core. Its hugely impressive specs make the slightly more expensive price tag easier to swallow, and it's like Samsung have literally turned the heat right up to 11 to really show off what they can do with gaming panels. The Samsung Odyssey G7 gaming monitor is extremely smart looking with a matte black finish, although looking at it, it's not really as deep a black as you would expect from black. It's more space grey, but we won't get caught up on the colour when this impressive monitor has so much more to give. The top and side bezels are extremely skinny too, which ensures users look at as much screen real estate as possible, and it's pretty smart. The bottom bezel, which holds the joystick, menu controller, and probably all of the tech, is a little fatter, coming in at around an inch at its fattest, but it doesn't remove from how nice this monitor actually looks. The monitor is physically chunky too, and this is down to the fact that Samsung have implemented their QLED technology here, and the fact it has local dimming too, which means there are small LEDs scattered across the rear of the monitor rather than around the edges. The stand comprises of two plastic feet measuring at around 13 inches long, which take up a decent amount of real estate on a desk. I'm not sure if this is hugely necessary though. The screen for a 27-inch monitor is pretty heavy, so it might need some extra bracing towards the front. Now unfortunately there's not enough room to put a full-size keyboard like my Roccat Vulcan underneath either. If you are lucky enough to be using something like a Ducky though, then you probably could, as these are very skinny. The arm section of the stand comes in two pieces, the main metal pole section and a plastic cover. This has been designed to be a neat and tidy cable run, so your cables are away from view on your desk. Now, however, it is very skinny inside, so make sure your HDMI or DisplayPort cables are thin. There is a headphone peg on the rear of the monitor too for some neat storage if needed. It is pretty flimsy though, so do be careful with it. The stand is also capable of tilt, pan and even rotating too, so you can have the Samsung G7 Odyssey in a vertical position. Now, I'm not really sure if you would want a monitor of this caliber positioned vertically, but if you're someone who is lucky enough to have two of them on your desk and needs something for your long Facebook feed, then it's capable. It feels more like Samsung are trying to tick boxes with this one and really aiming the G7 at all types of gamers. Also around the stand is some LED detailing, which really pulls the monitor together. Plus, it's also bright enough to shine off of a wall that you have your monitor against. It doesn't react to what's being displayed on a monitor like it does with something like the Philips Ambilight technology, but it does give a nice edge glow depending on how close the monitor is to that wall. There are 5 different color modes in total, including breathing effects, RGB and a flash, but by far best is a static light in a nice ice blue. But for you gamers out there, the RGB does breathe through all of the colours slowly. Underneath the monitor you can find one HDMI 2.0 input, no HDMI 2.1, which is a shame here on such a high-end panel. There are 2 DisplayPort 1.4 ports, a headphone jack, a power input and 2 USB inputs, which are fed through a USB pass-through cable. So that's a total of 8 cables coming from the back of this monitor, and there is just no way they're all fitting into that cable run down the back of the stand. So if you wanted to keep everything neat and tidy, you've got to decide which cables are essential to you. Now most people I think will have a DisplayPort and a HDMI cable for a PC and games console, so it won't be too much of an issue. The panel itself has a 1000R curve. It's still pretty wide and curvy enough to offer a decent level of immersion. However, it's not classed as an ultra-wide monitor like the Samsung Odyssey G9 is, and the G7 comes in as a 16:9 aspect ratio. The other surprising features of the Samsung G7 is the fact that the monitor is only a 1440p resolution. I would have expected Samsung to be pumping out 4K monitors, seeing as their TVs are storming ahead of the pack with 8K resolutions. As usual, we run the monitors we get in for review through our Datacolor Spider X, and yes, although this isn't the most scientific way of doing things, it does give us some idea of the actual performance of the monitor. So with that said, the color gamut test on the Samsung G7 Odyssey came back with some nice scores, although fared a little low on the Adobe RGB and NTSC color gamuts. The sRGB score came in nice and strong at 100%. Now at 100% brightness, the contrast came in at 2000 to 1, which is a little lower than the perceived 2500 to 1 Samsung are claiming, but not so far off the bat like some gaming monitors fall under for advertising purposes. There is a mode attached to the monitor though, and that's called dynamic brightness. Now switch this off and the contrast ratio does drop, and so does the brightness. Now in fact I kept it enabled throughout the whole time testing, as after all I am a bit of a sucker for bright and vivid images, and that's definitely what you get with the Samsung Odyssey G7 gaming monitor. Screen color uniformity was also pretty decent, although you can see from our testing that we measured quite a large hotspot in the middle of the screen, and this affected the entire center of the screen. It was like a little banding compared to the top and the bottom. The biggest issue though during our testing is with the color accuracy of the monitor. As you know, a lower score or even a score closer to 1 is better for a more accurate color experience. So with our findings initially, I wasn't really happy. The Delta E score was pretty far off the mark, as you can see from below, with an average of 3.89, although according to sources online, this is an acceptable range for gaming. The second time we tested was after we went through a color calibration process to see if we could get that Delta E score down as far as possible, and it did help somewhat. It gave us a pretty high Delta E average, was quite surprising, with an average of 2.41. However, take these results with a pinch of salt. We've not got the most cutting edge tech to test our monitors here at TechNuovo, purely because that type of equipment is super expensive to get hold of. But saying this, it didn't hinder from the excellent gaming performance that this monitor puts out. And if you're going to be playing games primarily using this monitor, you're really definitely not going to be disappointed. I certainly wasn't. So technicalities out of the way, let's get down to brass tacks, and that is gaming performance. And I must say, what an absolute stellar gaming solution that Samsung has on offer. The Samsung Odyssey G7 has a VA panel that utilizes a 240Hz refresh rate, NVIDIA G-Sync and AMD FreeSync compatible, and even 1 millisecond grey-to-grey response time. It is really an unbelievable feature set and definitely warrants the expensive price point. It's like future-proofing your monitor early, ready for when the 30 series cards become readily available. Now I suppose the letdown in this department is the 2560 by 1440p resolution and not the full 4K experience you would have probably expected. The screen is also HDR 600 certified too, and because of the Samsung QLED backlight, it means that you get some really blinding contrast between the dark and light areas of the scene, and for gaming, it's decent. We ran a few tests using a Reddit forum to find the best HDR implementations in gaming, and of course, Shadow of the Tomb Raider showed up, and the dynamic range achieved in this game was absolutely excellent. We also ran a few missions in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I know it's not exactly a cutting edge game, but it still looks great nonetheless, and HDR again just really helped with the details in both bright and dark areas, especially in the space combat missions. It was never off-putting either, you know, when the light areas produce huge halo effects around objects. It was very well controlled and definitely the best implementation of HDR we've seen so far in a gaming monitor for sure. Now I was overly impressed with the response time and refresh rate of the monitor, removing as much ghosting and trailing as possible, and even in faster games like Black Ops Cold War for example, I was zipping around the map and extremely happy with the result. It's definitely worth noting that this monitor can easily outdo some of the faster IPS panels on the market, and definitely give TN technology, which you know are usually known for their response times, a run for its money as well. Viewing angles are also superb too, so if you're doing a bit of couch co-op and you've got multiple people sitting around the monitor, you're not going to feel disappointed here if you're the one sitting off to the side. Now there's no hiding the fact that Samsung has really knocked the G7 Odyssey out of the park. Saying this, our testing did pull some inconsistencies, but none that I would really use to turn you away from this monitor. Now do bear in mind that this is the 27-inch version we are reviewing here, and we've not had much hands-on time with the 32-inch version outside of a showroom floor, so take it and leave it as you will, especially with our data testing. Now in terms of gaming performance, what else can I say other than absolutely blinding performance? If you're a hardcore gamer and strive for the best performance you can get with no regards for budgets, this is the one to get. There's only one model that supersedes this, and that's the G9 Odyssey, which is an absolute beast of an ultra-wide monitor, and one I hope we can get our hands on one day. But for now, I'm more than content with gaming on this. The Samsung G7 Odyssey 27-inch monitor will set you back around £549 from retailers online, which okay is a little pricey for a monitor these days, but man, is it superb. So thank you very much for checking out our video review of the Samsung Odyssey G7 gaming monitor. If you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button. Please subscribe to keep up with our latest tech and gaming videos. And also let us know in the comments down below what you think about the Samsung Odyssey G7, if you would purchase one of these for your gaming, or if you would go up to the Odyssey G9, the ultra-wide beast. Also, just to let you know, we do stream on Twitch on a Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday from 8:30 PM British time onwards. The link is twitch.tv/TechNuovo. You can find it in the description or it's on screen now. Come over, say hi, ask us a question about tech, let's talk about gaming, and let's just hang out. Come say hi. Anyway, thanks very much for watching and we'll see you in the next video.